How's it flying, guys? Lance Corporal Hawk 30, and welcome back to another Fat Files reaction. Today is going to be a catch-up binge. I need to record, at the very least, 6 videos today. Even though the procrastination part of my brain's like, oh, just do 1 or 2. No, I'm currently unemployed. I currently don't have a ride, so I can't go anywhere. So I'm stuck at the house. I was stuck at the house yesterday, too. But I just need to go ahead and continue. I intended to start earlier in the day than I ultimately have. But I woke up earlier this morning, got very tired again. And I think it's because I worked on that chuck shoulder that I'd smoked yesterday. I'd smoked a chuck shoulder for about 7.5-ish hours yesterday. Brought it inside when it got dark to bake it the rest of the way in the oven and stuff. And when it finished, I was already dead tired. But I got to try it and it tasted so good. But then I'm like, it's going to suck because I got to go to bed. And now it's probably not going to taste the same. But it still tasted good this morning. Made some mac and cheese to mix a little bit of it into. It turned out tasting very well. I got very full, came back in, and was tired. You know, you get full, you get tired. But to kind of sashay back onto the topic of today's video, my drink of choice for today was Coke. And that brings us to the Fat Files video that I am months late on. Coke's secret recipe is the world's biggest psyop. You know, the booger sugar cocaine rumors, it used to be used as medicine, yada yada yada, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not going to waste so much more time because there are going to be other videos for me to catch up on, not just Fat Electrician or Fat Files, but I should start chipping away at some of the other, sorry, I got an itchy shoulder, that's some of the other videos that I'm just way behind on. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and get into this. Link to the original video will be in the description. As always, please make sure you've seen it before you watch my reaction to it or any other video I react to. With that out of the way, let us go ahead and go.
You know it's going to be a good video, and I am legitimately worried about getting sued. Today we're talking about the biggest, most successful...
Okay, first of all, what was that? Second of all... yeah, it was 720p.
Full psyop of all time when a Confederate colonel got wounded on the battlefield, got addicted to morphine, so in order to overcome his morphine addiction, created a new medication made out of wine, caffeine, and cocaine that he would later market as a soft drink that would become the most popular soda of all time, Coca-Cola. I can feel the cease and desist already, but we're going to get into it right after word from our sponsor.
Delete me.
Hello.
What are you wearing?
You don't like it?
I mean, it's cute. You've been watching way too much Hell on Wheels, though.
Well, I like their style.
Ah, cool.
I like the way they dress. I actually got you this hat. So you can come follow me.
What is happening right now?
Don't question it, just go.
Do you want to watch me churn butter or not?
I gotta go. I'll be back in a fortnight.
The correct response.
Anyways, Delete Me, biggest sponsor of the channel. You guys know the deal by now. You give them money, they make sure the data brokers on the internet are not selling your personal information. These data brokers are legally required to stop selling your information if you ask them to the right way. Unfortunately, each data broker has a different right way. And Delete Me knows all of them. Not only do they go and they get all that information taken down, they continue to monitor all of these data brokers in case they get your information again, and then they tell them to quit selling it again. Buh! You can actually do all that yourself. Buh! I mean, yeah, you could. You could also wire your own house and grow your own food, but at some point it becomes more cost and time effective to just let the professionals do their job, and plus, they'll probably do a better job to begin with. I mean, here's the results they got for me. They reviewed over 18,000 listings from over 180 different data brokers and gotten over 3,000 listings removed almost every single month. And to be honest, I have absolutely no idea how long that would have taken me to do it if I decided to do it myself, but I'm 100% sure I would rather just pay Delete Me like $6 a month to do it for me. So if you're like me and you you wanted to give Delete Me a try, I'm going to have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, our story begins with John Pemberton, a man that received his medical degree at the age of 19 years old, who would later go on to be a colonel in the Civil War and receive a saber wound at the Battle of Columbus and subsequently get addicted to morphine. Being a doctor, John realized that being addicted to morphine was not ideal, so he needed to find an alternative, and the one thing he found that worked was a cola wine called Vin Mariani. Now, coca wine at this point in time, the thing he found that worked was a cola wine.
Cola wine. Popular French tonic wine. Over their signatures in our possession. Interesting.
Called Vin Mariani.
Not going to read the whole thing.
Coca wine at this point in time was a pretty popular product. It was exactly what it sounds like. It was wine mixed with coca leaves, and coca leaves is what you derive cocaine from. I know what you're wondering. How much party powder are we putting inside of this wine? Great question. Well, Vin Mariani, for example, was approximately 7.2 milligrams of cocaine.
Mariani wine presented an alcohol content of 15.7. The screening and the subsequent dosage revealed the following substances: cocaine, 86 milliliters, benzoylic, I don't know how to pronounce that, 383 milliliters, cocaethylene, 17 milliliters, econine, egonine, I don't know how to pronounce that, methyl ester, 130 milliliters, caffeine, a lot of words I don't know what it's. Cinemoyl cocaine, and synephrine. The alkaloid. Okay.
Per fluid ounce, and a bottle was about 25 ounces for about a total of 180 milligrams of Colombian nose torque.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
Again, milligrams not super helpful in trying to figure out how much yayo they're actually putting inside the wine, so I'll put it to you this way. The devil's dandruff is not just an illegal street drug, it is a medication that is used in the medical industry for certain medical procedures, and according to the standards of those procedures, the maximum dose that you should give someone is approximately 160 milligrams. And according to Google, the average recreational dose is approximately 30 to 70 milligrams, so it's safe to say they're putting a lot of Peruvian marching powder inside of the wine. And this apparently helped John Pemberton with his morphine addiction for obvious reasons.
So you may want to ask your doctor about a little bump.
So after a while, John is like, you know what? I
may want to ask your doctor about a little bump.
May cause erratic behavior, non-drowsy stimulant. Okay, I see. I saw the key the first time around. I did not see the powder.
So after a while, John is like, you know what? I should make my own version of this. I should make an even better version. You know what this needs? It needs caffeine in it as well.
I will not make garbage. We will produce a chemically pure and stable product that performs as advertised.
So he essentially makes a knockoff of Vin Mariani's coca wine and then adds cola nuts to get caffeine in there as well. And his recipe has about 40 milligrams of caffeine and about 9 milligrams of nose beer. Coca leaves, coca, cola nuts, cola. This is where we get Coca-Cola from.
Makes sense now.
So he brings Coca-Cola to market, marketing it as a medication in 1866, and within a matter of months, the county that he resides in, Fulton County out of Atlanta, passes a temperance legislation that they are going to ban alcohol, so he can no longer have wine inside of Coca-Cola, so he has to switch over and changes it to carbonated water. The problem is, taking the wine out and adding carbonated water makes the entire thing taste like crap, and nobody's going to want to drink it, so he adds a shit ton of sugar.
Sugar. More.
So he takes that to market and starts selling that as an over-the-counter medication to treat general exhaustion and headaches, because apparently it's hard to have a headache when you can't feel your face. So he sells that for a couple of years, and then he is diagnosed with an aggressive form of stomach cancer that rapidly brings about the end of his life. But right before his passing, he determines that his son does not want to take over the family business, so he sells it to a local Atlanta pharmacist by the name of Asa Chandler for approximately $300, which is about 10 grand today.
The turnaround on that deal, holy balls. Also, George in here, hi. Oh, man. Did they say, was this guy, the creator, was he from Georgia as well? Or is it just he just happened to sell it to somebody from Georgia? I don't know.
Damn good deal.
Now, when ODYSEE takes over the company, they are not making a lot of money. They're not selling a whole lot. That's why it was sold for such a low price. But he gets to marketing right away. He uses his pharmacy. He reaches out to all of his pharmacist buddies, gets the names and addresses of every single person that's getting any type of medication, and just starts sending them coupons for a free sample of Coca-Cola. And he does this in the hope that it would bring about a new wave of lifelong customers to Coca-Cola, and it was definitely him operating on blind hope and faith, not him being a pharmacist knowing for a fact that he was giving out coupons for free caffeine and cocaine-laced sugar water. So obviously that went great, got a whole new wave of customers, at which point he realizes, you know what, I'm gonna quit marketing this as an over-the-counter medication, and I'm gonna start marketing it as like a daily soft drink that anybody can drink just whenever they want as a refreshment. You know, a little pick-me-up.
A little bump.
Now, to be fair, this is not unique. There's like 50 other products on the shelf at this point in time, all basically the same exact thing. The difference is Asa Chandler decides that he's going to take a bunch of his profits and he's going to use that in marketing. There's banners, billboards, magazine ads. They're all over the place. And then, since he's now a soft drink and not a medication, he doesn't actually have to market all the ingredients in his product, and he just kind of like conglomerates all of the secret recipe and labels it as Merchandise 7X, and it becomes Coca-Cola's secret recipe, which also helps with marketing because you get to say, I have a secret recipe and nobody else is like us. Everybody wants our secret recipe.
The most important ingredient of all, 4 heaping pounds of freshly ground.
I warned you.
And in doing that, Coca-Cola becomes the name brand popular version of all these products, and that's the one that succeeds the most. So by the 1890s, things are going great for Coca-Cola, and then in 1895, they revolutionized marketing by coming out with a new marketing campaign known as the Coca-Cola Girls. Basically, they figured, you know what would go great with a new marketing campaign known as the Coca...
I don't know why, but there's something very surreal about the art in the center. Whoever drew that one in the center particular, all 3 drawings look fantastic, but that one in particular, there's something surreal about it. I don't know what you would call that art style.
Cola Girls. Basically, they figured, you know what would go great with our party powder drink? Attractive females. This is one of the first cases of sex sells ever used. Now, to us, this seems obvious, but this is like the first time this has ever happened. So at the time, this was like a stroke of genius that would go on to become one of the standards of marketing for the rest of forever. And from here, they just keep going. They just keep putting more and more of their profits back into marketing. When radio becomes popular, they've got ads all over the radio. When TV becomes popular, they've got ads all over the TV. They start working with actors and famous athletes. Coca-Cola is absolutely everywhere. But then they experience kind of a setback because by the early 1900s, the United States government is really cracking down on, I'm running out of euphemisms for cocaine, nose candy. They're really cracking down on nose candy. And this, in large part, is kind of fueled by racism. There's literally a New York Times article that I'm not even going to read the title of that goes on to claim that when a black man takes cocaine, he becomes impervious to bullets. I'm not joking. Here's the article. So now Coca-Cola's got to take the booger sugar out of the secret. I'm not joking.
Here's real quick. Bullets fired in vital parts that would drop a sane man in his tracks. Fail to check the fiend. Fail to stop his rush or weaken his attack. I mean, we've seen this with meth heads. In a way. Like, you try to tase a meth head and it's like, they ignore it. Now, that's not race exclusive by any means, so don't take it as that, but as far as being high as balls when someone's trying to take you down normally, unless you're just the kind of high that a breeze will blow you down, yeah, it works as a big damage reducer.
The article. So now Coca-Cola's got to take the booger sugar out of the secret recipe, but guess what? So does everybody else. So Coca-Cola isn't really affected and they remain the dominant actor in the soft drink arena.
I am invincible.
So by the 1920s, they're crushing it. They've got the entire market on lock and they're like, who do we target next? Let's target kids. If we get them hooked while they're young, while their brains are still malleable and squishy, we'll have lifelong customers. So by the 1920s, they start associating themselves with Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward like 20 years, all the kids
20s
that grew up on Coca-Cola and Santa Claus are now getting involved in World War II and have to get shipped off to war. And at this point in time, Coca-Cola is all over the planet, including Germany. Coca-Cola is literally Adolf Hitler's favorite drink at this point in time. But after Pearl Harbor and Germany declares war on the United States of America, obviously America is no longer going to be doing trade with Nazi Germany, so Germany can no longer get Coca-Cola. I don't know what you're thinking. If there's already Coca-Cola plants in Germany, why can't Germany just seize the Coca-Cola plants and continue making their own version of Coca-Cola? Well, because the way this works is the raw condensed syrup that makes up Coca-Cola when added with carbonated water is all made in the United States, and then it is shipped all over the world to bottling plants where they mix it with the carbonated water and bottle it. So they actually don't know how to make the concentrated syrup because it's a secret recipe. So once they cut off the supply of concentrated syrup, they can no longer make Coca-Cola. So these bottling plants in Germany need to come up with their own version of Coca-Cola, and they don't know what they're doing, so they just start using a bunch of food waste like extra fiber and stuff left over from fruit, and they end up making a fruitier version of Coca-Cola that ends up being called Fanta, and this is where Fanta comes from.
So that's how
now,
Fanta
back on the American front,
Okay.
they're starting to ration things, and one of the biggest things that gets rationed is sugar. So Coca-Cola ends up, you know, paying a bunch of politicians and then going over to these rationing boards and are like, hey, Coca-Cola is essential. You can't cut our sugar ration. And thanks to paying off politicians and also everybody loving Coca-Cola at this point in time, the government agrees. So Coca-Cola is allowed to keep putting just as much sugar into their drink as they always have. And most other brands are forced to cut back on the sugar, making Coca-Cola by far and away the best soda around.
Sugar! Need sugar!
Hey, they're not riding the white horse anymore.
And then Coca-Cola has a stroke of genius. I don't know if they intended it to work out this way, but it did. They basically come out and say, hey, we support the American troops. We're going to guarantee that any American service member, no matter where they are in the world, can get themselves a cold Coca-Cola for the same 5 cents.
Good advertising.
We are literally willing to lose money on every single soda if it means getting these guys a taste of home. Now, Coca-Cola is supporting the troops. The American people love it.
I mean, yeah, that's a big morale booster, being able to tell the troops far from home that having to eat like hardtack just to get by. I don't remember what all the military rations were back in the 40s. I don't remember. I know it was very bare basics. It's not even like half of what it is now, I don't think. I remember seeing a Guga Foods video some time ago where he made the different rations throughout the years, throughout the past century, I think, or so. But ignore that. That's the washing machine outside. But anyways, you got to think a lot of that stuff they're eating is just like bare necessities for nutrition. A lot of it's not gonna taste the best. So being able to guarantee your troops, like, hey, you still get your sugar water, you still get your Coca-Cola. We love you, Coca-Cola. That buys loyalty to the brand right there.
The government loves it, and Coca-Cola approaches the government and is like, hey, it's getting awfully expensive getting Coca-Cola all the way around the planet in the Pacific theater and the European theater. How would you guys feel about helping fund us build some more bottling plants out in more remote locations? So the U.S. government and taxpayers essentially fund the building of 65 Coca-Cola bottling plants all over the world. Now, this does several things. It galvanizes the support of this entire generation that they now love Coca-Cola because it was the one thing they got to taste when they were away from home for 4 years fighting in World War II. And 2, it exposes the rest of the world to Coca-Cola because now the American troops are drinking it and they're giving it out to all these other civilians and all these other territories that they're occupying, giving it even further reach all over the planet.
I don't know how extensive the thought process was into thinking how much of a massive marketing campaign that was. But holy crap, if that's not one of the most effective marketing campaigns, even if it wasn't completely intentionally done as a marketing campaign. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there were people making these decisions that were thinking, let's do this for the troops. But then maybe there was somebody in the corner. Do you realize the amount of people who've never had Coke before we're about to expose to getting Coca-Cola? We are going to be eternal after this.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that Coca-Cola has just convinced the American taxpayer to fund their global expansion while the United States military turns into the biggest sales force on the planet. So World War II ends, Coca-Cola resumes control of all the bottling plants that were captured by Nazi Germany, and now they have a new popular soda known as Fanta. On top of that, they're more popular than ever. They are galvanized with the greatest generation because Coca-Cola was the official soda of World War II. Time passes. By the 1950s, 1960s, studies are coming out saying like, hey, maybe drinking caffeinated sugar water is bad for you if you're drinking 12 of these things a day. So Coca-Cola wanting to kind of pivot a little bit is like, okay, well, we should get into the healthier drink market. What's something healthy? Fruit juice. What's that super popular brand that was developed in World War II to help soldiers get vitamin C? Minute Maid. They buy out Minute Maid, and now they own that too. And this is where the Psyop really begins, because as time passes, it becomes more and more apparent that soda actually is not that healthy for you. And because of that, the rules on how you're allowed to market and what you're allowed to say get more and more strict, particularly in marketing to children.
Yeah, especially nowadays with the high fructose corn syrup being a big prominent ingredient in sodas. I don't even remember when exactly that was added as an ingredient. Sodas in general, not healthy for you. But that high fructose corn syrup just makes it just a little bit more unhealthy. But I'm sure he's going to bring that up soon.
Coca-Cola's like, fuck it, I'm going to find a loophole. We're just going to spend $750 million and we're going to buy out Columbia Pictures in 1982. And then all the movies that come out of this major production studio are all going to feature Coca-Cola in subliminal advertisements.
Movie studio.
Okay, you think it was a coincidence that Ralph Macchio was drinking Minute Maid at breakfast with his mom, and then when he's training in the kitchen with Mr. Miyagi, he's drinking an ice cold Sprite, also a Coca-Cola product? Absolutely not. It's actually documented that Ralph Macchio was mad at how much product placement that Coca-Cola was making him do in that movie, so he tried to conceal the fact that he was drinking a Sprite, and Coca-Cola and the studio made him refilm that scene and show the Sprite for a certain amount of time in that particular scene. You think it was a coincidence that Ghostbusters and Coca-Cola marketed so hard together that if you drank enough Coca-Cola, you could literally win the Ghostbusters mobile? Absolutely not. The entire thing, all of the movies that came out in the 1980s out of Columbia Pictures was one giant psyop to get you to drink Coca-Cola. It was so well known in Hollywood that Clint Eastwood refused to have any Coca-Cola products in any of his movies because he was mad that they cast Ralph Macchio as the Karate Kid and not his son.
Idiots.
And the marketing doesn't just stop there, right? They are targeting kids all over the place. Officially,
I did not know that.
Their policy, they don't market to anybody under the age of 13, which you can make an argument for with movies. However, I don't think you can really make an argument for that when you're putting your branding on a bunch of toys all over the toy section, right? They're on trucks, they're on Barbie dolls, they've got game cell phone apps, they're sponsoring kids' sports teams, they're all over amusement parks, they're absolutely everywhere. This psyop is so effective, it literally changed the global perception of polar bears, okay? Polar bears are not friendly, cuddly animals that run around the Arctic chugging Coca-Cola. Polar bears are one of the most dangerous apex predators on the planet and one of the only animals known to actively hunt people. You're exaggerating. It's not that big of a deal. No.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Literally, in Alaska, in some of the oil fields, polar bears do in fact go that far south. I say south, that's still very far north, but there are still some oil fields in Alaska where polar bears do in fact come by. And people are told, do not interact. They are not big cuddlies. But they're also told, because they're endangered, you really want to make sure they can't get a hold of you because we're not allowed to shoot them. At least that's my remembering of what I've been told. Like, no joke.
I'm not, and I can prove it, okay? Because by the 1980s, Coca-Cola and Pepsi were like at the pinnacle of their competition. They had just had their race to the bottom to see who could offer the product the absolute cheapest. And then a lot of people think they engaged in price fixing because they had a meeting behind closed doors, allegedly. And after that meeting, they both decided to take their products back to the normal price and just compete with normal marketing tactics. And what Pepsi did is they had the brilliant idea that they were just going to compete on taste. What they did is they had a bunch of blind taste test studies, and those studies showed that when you didn't know what the branding was, more people preferred Pepsi than any other flavor. Coca-Cola immediately fired back saying that's not true, that's a lie. They then conducted their own blind taste test studies, and holy shit, that wasn't a lie. People actually do prefer the taste of Pepsi.
Really?
So Coca-Cola went ahead and developed a new flavor that outcompeted the original Coca-Cola and Pepsi in the blind taste test trial.
Yeah, until people found out that it was a change in the recipe and then boycotted it en masse. I've actually seen an Imp Lemon video about Coke about the new Coke flavor and the mass backlash that came from that. The surprising mass backlash that came from that. Which is just like, holy crap.
And then they launched the new Coke. And when Coca-Cola discontinued the original Coke and had their new flavor of Coke come out that was supposed to be better in every single way, people were absolutely fucking pissed.
Yeah.
The Psyop was so effective over generations that it had convinced people that Coca-Cola wasn't just a product that could be improved upon. No, Coca-Cola was Coca-Cola. It was a fixture in the American community.
Yeah,
it was
kinda
literally like a
silly.
family relative, and you can't mess with it, okay? It would be like if a scientist was like, hey, you know your cousin Jimmy? Great news. I've invented a new Jimmy that's better in every way. And you're like, that's great, but where the fuck is Jimmy? That motherfucker's not Jimmy.
I am telling you right now.
Without that clip.
That mother back there is not real.
So Coca-Cola just takes an
happened to
absolute
that
beating
lady?
in the marketplace, okay? People are furious that they've changed Coca-Cola. So eventually they revert back, and it's a huge PR thing. Like, they finally brought Coca-Cola back, and their sales absolutely skyrocket. Which almost makes you wonder if the entire thing was planned. And if it was, it would be the greatest marketing ploy of all time, but we
Psyop
can't prove
indeed.
that. But what it does prove is that Coca-Cola's marketing psyop over the course of generations was so outrageously effective that they could literally give the customer a better product in every way for the exact same price. And not only would the customers still prefer the original Coca-Cola, they would demand it. And you can see it again
Wait.
with the secret recipe. The secret recipe is not secret. It's literally on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Yet Coca-Cola still has this like fancy ass vault with a palm scanner and an eye reader and like smoke and red lights and mist showing off where they hide the secret recipe. Everybody knows.
I do know I've never tried New Coke before. Obviously, it's not a mass-continued thing. They discontinued that after that backlash. But for one brief period of time, when Stranger Things, one of the seasons of Stranger Things, which I don't watch, by the way, full disclosure, but this is what I heard from the Implement video. Stranger Things, in one of their seasons, did feature New Coke, so Coke temporarily brought back the new Coke as a limited time thing. And that got discontinued, but Implement got a chance to try it on a video, and he said he actually preferred that flavor over regular Coke. So, what it seems to me would be smart would have been just saying, hey, new Coke is here to stay. It won't replace the classic Coke. That one is forever, but we want to give people a chance to try new Coke. That's, in my mind, would be a sensible thing to do, because you got to think, people are still going to be drinking this shit.
What the secret recipe is. All you got to do is Google it. It's right there for the taking, but nobody cares because it's still Coca-Cola. You could literally open up your own soda shop today with the exact same product as Coca-Cola, and guess what? Nobody's going to drink your shit because you're not Coca-Cola. You're not Cousin Jimmy. You're not a member of the family. You haven't been psyoped into existence for the last 4 generations. Also, that's not true. You can't just recreate Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola has an exclusive deal with the Steffen Company, which is the only company allowed by the DEA to import coca leaves and de-cocainify them. So you wouldn't be allowed to get de-cocaine coca leaves to put in your drink anyways. But my point still stands. Even if we lived in magical fairy tale land where you could get the coca leaves and you could somehow make the exact same product and somehow magically sell it for the exact same price despite Coca-Cola's overwhelming manufacturing and distribution capabilities, you would still fail outrageously for no reason other than the fact you're not Coca-Cola, because they have the greatest psyop of all time on their side, and they will always win because of it. And we know this because there's been multiple times throughout history, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, there's always somebody coming forward saying, we found Coke's secret recipe in some old document that we found in an auction house and blah, 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 blah. And every single time Coca-Cola just comes out and says, that's not the secret recipe. Nuh-uh.
Oh, boy.
Is it the recipe that makes up Coca-Cola? Yeah, it absolutely is. But it's not the secret recipe, because the secret recipe is not the chemicals and the oils and the coca leaves that Coca-Cola puts inside of their drink. The secret recipe is the marketing itself. The marketing that has gone on for generations and was so outrageously effective that it went from marketing into a psychological operation. That is the secret recipe of Coca-Cola, not the ingredients inside of it. And
Oh, I thought it was raining. It's the washing machine again. Yeah, Coke made, aside from what we went over earlier with the big mass marketing campaign that included making sure that soldiers got access to Coke where they were at. Okay, it is raining as well as that washing machine. But also connecting Coca-Cola to Santa Claus, associating that closely with something that kids still think about to this very day as like the peak of their childhood fantasies, is like meeting Santa Claus and knowing that Santa drinks Coca-Cola. Who stands a chance, marketing-wise, of even getting remotely close? Me personally, my preferred drink is always Dr. Pepper. I don't mind Coke. I like Dr. Pepper the most.
You want to know who knows this? Pepsi knows this, because there was a disgruntled Coca-Cola employee that got a hold of executives over at Pepsi and offered to sell them Coca-Cola's secret recipe, but Pepsi realizes that it's not what makes up Coca-Cola. It's Coca-Cola's marketing and Psyop itself that is the secret recipe. So instead of trying to buy the ingredient list that goes into Coke, they turn that motherfucker over to the FBI.
Really?
So yeah, in conclusion, Coca-Cola has the most successful marketing of all time. I don't know where the line is that separates marketing and psychological operation, but I feel fairly certain in saying Coca-Cola passed it a while ago. Coca-Cola's marketing is so good, they literally took a Confederate colonel's recipe for his medication to help him overcome his morphine addiction and turned it into the most recognizable beverage and one of the most recognizable brands, period, on the planet. Branding that was so successful that it trained.
Like Holy Balls, connecting it to Superman as well. Superman is one of the most recognized comic book characters that's ever been made. So, of course, connecting it to a character like that as well is also going to integrate it even further into people's psyche of, you enjoy Coca-Cola? Well, Superman likes it. You know, stuff like that.
Being a product, and it became its own entity, meaning that if you were to actually try to change it, you would be fundamentally changing what that product itself was. And in that, there's never been a better demonstration of how overwhelmingly effective just marketing can be.
I wanted to bring something up with the high fructose corn syrup crap. In Mexico, they still make Coca-Cola the original way. To my understanding, that version of Coca-Cola is the real Coca-Cola. But what we get here in the States, because they use high fructose corn syrup as a substitute for sugar to sweeten it, I think that technically makes it not the same. I don't know if, and he didn't go over that. It sounded like we're getting into the final sting of the video. I doubt he's going to bring it up. But Coca-Cola was early this year ordered to stop putting high fructose corn syrup in their drinks. So maybe we'll see the flavor improve.
Marketing can be so effective that it is the secret recipe.
Yeah,
Thank you
I can't
watching.
taste the
Best way to
difference
support
between the two,
channels,
by
go
the
buy
way.
some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out. All right, time to start the stopwatch and see how long it takes for me to get a cease and desist.
Yeah, I need to catch up on the buy now pay later video for sure. Let me turn this AC on. But yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit. It's a Confederate general. All right, can't remember what his name was off the top of my head, but substitute for morphine was the original purpose of it. Makes sense. I did remember hearing from my grandfather that Coca-Cola was in fact sold as a pharmaceutical drug at one point in time, like it was sold from pharmacies, which is interesting to think about considering because one of the leading causes of diabetes in this country is Coca-Cola and something. Yeah. But I'm gonna end this one here because I've got other stuff to catch up on. But that was an interesting look into the true origins. Like I said, current Coca-Cola, at least in the U.S., is really not the same as classic Coke, as the original secret ingredient Coca-Cola, and what is bottled in Mexico and shipped out is typically what is the actual, because it uses real sugar and not high fructose corn syrup. But could be in the next few months we'll see that swap around. I don't know. I hope it does. It's not going to make it super healthy by any means, but it's not going to make it as bad, if that makes sense. You know. Anyways, that's going to do it for me in this video. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like if you enjoyed. Comment what your favorite part of this reaction was and what your favorite soft drink is. Mine, like I said, mine is Dr. Pepper. I don't mind Coke. Dr. Pepper's my favorite. Subscribe if you're new and tap the bell to get notified whenever I upload videos so you're missing reactions, gameplay, or otherwise. Also, go check out my Discord. Link is in the description. Come join. We will talk. Post memes, songs, videos, artwork. You can start promote your own stuff and just have some fun. This has been Lance Block 30, signing off.